I'm Joe Zikas. I'm from New Home Notebook. I'm sitting here with an old friend, David Hall, who's Vice President and Managing Broker of Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage, Lincoln Park Plaza office.
Yes.
How are sellers going to get through this?
Well, in a variety of ways. My advice to sellers is if frankly, and I think any agent or any realtor would say the same thing, if you don't have to sell today, don't sell.
Not every agent would say that, but
If you don't have to sell, don't sell. Real estate, what we now know, because we forgot it for a while, we knew it in our heart, but we forgot for a while that real estate is a long-term investment. That is not something, and when I said to an agent, I was talking to one of my agents a couple of days ago and saying that I would have to go back 10 years to the late 90s to put my finger on what I would call a normal real estate market. And he asked me, what do you mean by that? And I said, what is it? And he said, what is a normal real estate market? And my response to that was that a normal real estate market, at least residential real estate market, is a market in which people buy a house in order to live in it.
right.
That's the reason to buy it. We went through a period.
What a novel concept.
What a novel concept. We went through a period of time when the reason to buy a house was not to live in it, but to sell it, resell it. You might live in it temporarily, but the ultimate goal was to resell it as quickly as possible and make a profit. Well, that's not a sustainable market. That's not the way residential real estate works. It's not the way that it's ever worked for any extended period of time. But we have now, what we're dealing with is a whole generation of owners, i.e. sellers, potential sellers, who have known no market other than that market. They only know the aberration. And we have a generation of real estate agents who only know the aberration. Their only experience is in a market when people bought and sold every few months or every year or two.
And sold quickly.
Sold quickly.
When you and I started, I think 120 days was a normal market time back then.
Right.
You didn't expect to
Right.
put your house on the market and sell it overnight.
Right.
How far are we off that 120-day normal?
I don't think we're that
time?
far off the 120 days, and it's all about price and value today. We know that. So returning to the question of how do sellers deal with this market, the first group is if you don't have to sell. I say the first group, if you don't have to sell, don't sell. The second group are people by and large, people who've owned their real estate for 5 or 6 years or more are probably okay. Will they make as much profit as they wanted to make? Maybe not. Will they come out clean? Probably. Will they make a profit of some kind? Good possibility.
Assuming they haven't refinanced.
Assuming that they haven't refinanced and already taken the profit out, taken the equity out. So that's those two groups. For the folks who bought at the height of the market and need to sell, they probably will sell. There's a good possibility that they may have to sell for less than they paid, which is painful.
Would they be better off renting and sitting it out? Or?
Well, so then the question is, what do I do if I'm that seller? Do I rent it? That's one possibility. Do I sell at the loss? That's another possibility. Do I go into a short sale? That's a possibility under very specific circumstances, and if the bank agrees and so on. Do I just stop making my payments and go into foreclosure? There are really 4 or 5 choices. A couple of them are not very pretty. The rental option is certainly something that I would say everyone needs to look at, because not everybody wants to be a landlord, but it's not the worst thing in the world being a landlord. Most people are nice.
It's close.
I own rental properties, and you know what? Most of my tenants, most of the time, are pretty decent. They take pretty good care of it. They pay their rent on time. They're nice folks. Tenants are not monsters, by definition. And renting the property may be a very sustainable solution to a short-term issue, because we do believe the real estate market comes back. Why do we believe that? Not just because it always comes back, but also because the cost of replication, the cost of reproduction, the cost of building that same thing again is going to be higher 5 years from now, because labor and materials are not going to go down significantly, at least not long term. So it's going to cost more to build 1,200 square feet 5 years from now than it does today, or than it did 5 years ago. So that's one of the reasons that real estate has a built-in natural appreciation
And we have
as it
household
ages.
growth.
And we also have population growth. So there are reasons that real estate will come back. And the other thing I say about real estate is that even though its value may go up and it may go down, it never goes to zero. It is always worth something. My stock market, my stock account can go to zero.
Let's not talk about our stock.
Let's not talk about that.
Let's
But
not talk about our
if I own
accounts.
stock in a particular company, that can go to zero. My real estate will never go to zero. So the question is, does it make sense for me to hold on to it and get it rented? Because when I rent it, there are several benefits. I get rental income, may not cover all the costs, but it covers 50% or 60% or maybe 70%. I get tax write-offs. The government is very friendly and the IRS is very friendly towards people who own investment real estate. So I get tax write-offs, including depreciation. I'm now in a whole new tax category. And so there are some. It may not be my first choice, but it may be a better choice than the alternative. And so as an owner, I have to look at that very seriously. And I have to look at that, what would be the long 5-year prognosis of owning this thing as a rental? And 5 years from now, could I then recoup my original investment or maybe do a little bit better than my original investment? And I would say in 5 years, you've got a pretty good shot at that. Because 5 years from now, we will have gone through a construction, very little new construction, in all likelihood. We don't expect that we're going to see a lot of new construction in the city in the next 2 or 3 years. We will see buildings being completed, but we're not going to see a lot of new projects started. So there's going to be a gully in the construction market over the next 2 to 5 years. If I come out on the other side of that gully and I still own this thing that I own today, I've got a pretty good chance that I can do okay on it.